Heredia first. On the record, in the matter of the people of the state of Michigan versus Antonio Ricardo Heredia. Counsel appearance.
Dwayne Silverthorne, from the Office of Public Defender, on behalf of Antonio Ricardo Heredia. My appearance today is limited to this arraignment. He has requested a court-appointed attorney.
Thank you. And you can hear me clearly, Mr. Heredia.
What do you say, ma'am?
Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, today's the date and the time that's scheduled for a arraignment. I have a felony complaint here. It alleges that on or about February 16, 2024, at the area of Washington and Edgewood, City of Lansing, Ingham County, State of Michigan, that you did allegedly contrary to law commit the act in count 1 of unlawful imprisonment. The allegations are that you did knowingly restrain Ileana Gonzalez to facilitate flight after the commission of assault with intent to do great bodily harm, a felony contrary to Michigan Compile Law 750.239B. There is a Sex Offender Registration Act notice attached to this account. It says only where the facts establishing the conviction of fits have a sexual component. See People v. Lyman. It says leave granted. This is a tier 1 offense under the Sex Offender Registration Act if the victim is a minor. It is a tier 2 offense if the defendant has a prior conviction for a tier 1 offense. Under Michigan Compile Law 28.722 R and T. It's a tier 3 offense if the defendant has a prior conviction for a tier 2 offense. This is a felony. The maximum penalty is 15 years and or $20,000 in fines. There's a count 2 of assault with intent to do great bodily harm less than murder or by strangulation. The allegations are that you did make an assault upon Ileana Gonzalez with an intent to do great bodily harm less than the crime of murder, and that this is contrary to MCL 750.84. Count 2 is a felony with the maximum penalty 10 years in prison or $5,000 in fines. DNA is to be taken upon arrest, and a consecutive sentence may be imposed under MCL 750.506A if the assault was committed in a place of confinement. Count 3 is domestic violence. It alleges that you did make an assault or assault and battery upon Ileana Gonzalez, an individual with whom you had a dating relationship, and this is contrary to MCL 750.812. Count 3 normally would be a misdemeanor. Maximum penalty 93 days in jail and or $500 in fines. Again, a consecutive sentence may be imposed under the law if the assault was committed in a place of confinement. There is, however, a habitual offender 4th offense notice. It says take notice that the defendant was previously convicted of 3 or more felonies or attempts to commit felonies in that on or about December 14, 2016. He was convicted of the offense of felony firearm in violation of MCL 750.227BA in the 30th Circuit Court for Ingham County, State of Michigan. And that on or about December 14, 2016, he was convicted of the offense of carrying a concealed weapon in violation of MCL 750.227 in the 30th Circuit Court for Ingham County, State of Michigan. And that on or about December 14, 2016, he was convicted of the offense of assault with a dangerous weapon in violation of MCL 750.82 in the 30th Circuit Court for Ingham County, State of Michigan. Therefore, defendant is subject to the penalties provided under MCL 769.12. Penalty enhanced for count or the primary offense will be life because the primary offense is punishable with a maximum penalty of more than 5 years. You understand the charges read and the maximum penalty attached?
Yes, ma'am.
You have the right to be represented by counsel. You're represented today by Mr. Silverthorne solely for the purposes of your arraignment. But you do have the right to have an attorney represent you at each stage of the criminal prosecution, and you have the right to have an attorney with you to represent you if you're questioned by law enforcement. If you can't afford to hire an attorney, you can make a request to have the Public Defender's Office represent you at the expense of the public. It's been noted on the record that you did make a request for the public defender's office. That's correct?
Yes, ma'am.
You have the right in this matter to plead guilty. You can plead not guilty or you can stand mute. The court is going to enter a plea of not guilty on your behalf. You have the right to the presumption of innocence. You're innocent until proven guilty, sir, and you have the right to be proven guilty at a jury trial. You understand your right to the presumption of innocence?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, let me see if I can find this notes here. You're being charged in this matter with felonies, so that means you have the right to preliminary examination. You have the right to have that examination within 21 days of the date that you're arraigned. That timeline of 21 days can only be adjusted if you either waive the timeline yourself or the court finds good cause to go beyond that timeline. At the time of your preliminary examination, you have the right to have the prosecution put forth evidence to establish that they have sufficient probable cause that a crime was committed and probable cause sufficient to charge you with those crimes.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you have questions about that right so far?
No.
Okay, and you have the right to remain silent. Anything you say and anything you put in writing can be used against you. You have the right, again, to confront in court at the time of your trial any of your accusers or any witnesses that the prosecution intends to call against you. You have the right to have witnesses subpoenaed on your behalf to testify, and you have the right to present evidence that you believe would show a defense to the charges being brought against you. You're currently scheduled for probable cause conference before me, Judge Kristen Simmons. You're scheduled March 1st, 2024 at 8:30 in the morning for the probable cause conference. You have a preliminary examination in person at the court, March 8th, 2024 at 8:30 in the morning. Did you get a copy of the notice to appear as well as instructions on how you can Zoom in?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so the probable cause conference, you may Zoom in for that. You just need to make sure that you are in a position that's appropriate for court. So you can't be driving or walking around, or you need to be stationary in a position to move forward with a court proceeding. Your preliminary examination is in person, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Are you currently employed?
No.
Okay. What's your home address?
1560 North Eifert Road, Holt, Michigan. I think that'd be 488 92, I think. I'm not sure.
Is there an apartment number?
No, I live with my mom at a trailer park.
Okay. What's your phone number?
517-221-9531.
Are you currently on probation or on parole?
Well, ma'am.
Do you have any other matters pending before any other courts?
Not that I know of.
Well, have you been arraigned on anything else? Do you have any other court dates coming up?
Not that I know of.
Okay. You should know if you had court dates or that you were arraigned though, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. Counsel, you can address bond.
Just briefly, we need to address Mr. Heredia. Mr. Heredia, you indicated to me in our interview that you worked at Myers Warehouse. Is that not correct?
I worked at Myers Warehouse, but I haven't been to work. So, but I guess it's still showing up. But as far as I know, I'm fired.
When's the last time you worked there?
You know I'm fired. It's been like a month.
All right. I'll address one.
Thank you.
He was forthright with me in terms of his prior convictions, and they are for violent offenses, as are these. However, he has a minor child that he shares custody with. He indicates that he doesn't have any failures to appear. His job, his family, the job that he had here the family is here, and he wasn't on probation, bond, or parole at the time. So with all of these and with the court's information, I'll leave it to the court's discussion.
Bond is set in the amount of 10,000 cash surety with GPS tether. While out on bond, there's a no contact order that will be in place for Ileana Gonzalez. You're not to have contact directly or indirectly with her, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
You're not to be within 1,500 feet of wherever she is.
Yes, ma'am.
You need to make sure you appear for all of your court dates, and you need to appear timely. You are not to engage in any assaultive or threatening behavior. You're not to use, purchase, or possess alcohol or drugs unless you have a valid prescription. You're not to travel outside the state without prior approval of the court. You're not to possess a firearm or any other dangerous weapon. You need to report to pretrial services within 48 hours of your release from custody. Do you have any questions about your bond conditions?
No, ma'am.
Okay, any additional matters in this record?
No, there isn't a case number assigned to this yet. Is that correct?
I don't have a case number yet.
Okay, thank you.
Thank
Oh,
you.
you're on it. Thank you.
Thank you. You're all set, sir.
Thank you.
On the record, in the matter of the people of the state of Michigan versus Derek William Dubendorf. Council appearance.
Wade Silverland, the Office of Public Defender, on behalf of Derek William Dubendorf, what, as he is now appearing on screen from the jail. He has requested court-appointed attorney. This appearance is limited to this range. Thank you.
You are Derek William Dubendorf.
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Dubendorf, today's the date that's scheduled for an arraignment, and I have here a felony complaint. The allegations are that on or about February 16, 2024, at the area of Leslie Street and East Kalamazoo Street, City of Lansing, Ingham County, State of Michigan, that you did allegedly contrary to law commit the act in count 1 of weapons carrying concealed. The allegations are that you did carry a dangerous weapon, that being a pistol, whether concealed or otherwise, in a vehicle operated or occupied by said defendant, that being a white Dodge, and that this was contrary to Michigan compiled law 750.227. Count 1 is a felony with a maximum penalty of 5 years in prison or $2,500 in fines and a mandatory forfeiture of the weapon or devices required under the law. Do you understand the charge and the maximum penalty attached?
Yes.
Excuse me. You have the right to be represented by an attorney, and the public defender is representing you today for the purposes of your arraignment only. You do have the right, though, to have an attorney represent you at each stage of the criminal prosecution, at all of your court appearances, or if you are questioned by law enforcement. If you cannot afford to hire an attorney, you can make a request to have the public defender's office appointed at the expense of the public. And so you did make a request for a court-appointed counsel. I'll note that here on the file. You have the right to remain silent. Anything that you say and anything you put in writing can be used against you. You have the right to plead guilty. You can plead not guilty, or you can stand mute. If you stand mute, this matter will proceed all the way through to a trial. This count 1 is a felony, so that means you have the right to have a preliminary examination, and you have the right to preliminary examination within 21 days of the date that you're arraigned. That's today's date. The timeline of that 21 days can be waived by you, or the court could find good cause to change that date if necessary. You're currently scheduled for probable cause conference before Judge Stacia Buchanan on February 29th, 2024 at 9:30 in the morning. You have a preliminary examination in person before Judge Buchanan March 7th, 2024 at 8:30. Did you get your notice to appear in the Zoom instructions for her courtroom?
Let me see. I think it is.
In the
Yeah, I
yellow
got it.
sheet or the Zoom
Yeah,
instructions
yeah.
for courtroom? Okay, very good. Okay. You have the right in this matter to proceed to a trial. You have the right to the presumption of innocence. So you're innocent until proven guilty, and they prove your guilt by proving each element of the charge being brought against you beyond a reasonable doubt at your jury trial. And you have the right to remain silent at the jury trial and not have silence be used against you. You have the right to confront and cross-examine any other witnesses that the prosecution intends to call against you. You have the right to call witnesses to speak for you at your trial. Or you also have the right to present evidence at trial that you believe show a defense of the charge being brought against you. Do you have any questions about those rights?
I do not.
Are you currently on probation or on parole?
No.
The court is going to enter a plea of not guilty on your behalf, by the way. Let's see. Are you employed?
Just got a job at Amazon. I haven't fully been through the process yet, but I'm working on it. It's just going through the background check and then the drug test, and then I start.
Okay. What's your home address?
231 Leslie Street, Lansing, Michigan.
What's your phone number?
989-640-7248.
Repeat that again.
989-640-7248.
Have you ever missed court in the past?
No, I have not.
Okay, you can address bond counsel.
Just briefly, he doesn't have any prior record. He's lived in Lansing his whole life, lives with his mother. His former job is here, his prospective job with Amazon is here, his siblings are here. This CCW charge is serious, but it is not classified as a violent offense. For these reasons, we believe he qualifies for a PR bond.
Thank you. The court will grant the request for a PR bond. Bond will be set in the amount of 1,000 personal recognizance. While out on bond, you have the following conditions. You're not to use, purchase, or possess drugs or alcohol without a valid prescription. You're not to travel outside the state without prior approval of the court. You're not to engage in any assaultive or threatening behavior. You're not to possess a firearm or any other dangerous weapon, and you need to report to pretrial services within 48 hours of your release, and that information as to how you report should be provided to you from the jail, okay?
Okay.
Do you have any questions for the court?
No, I do not.
Okay, any additional matters for the record, counsel?
No, Your Honor, thank you.
You're all set, sir. On the record, in the matter of the people of the state of Michigan versus Raina Rosita Berry, counsel appearance.
Wayne Silverman from the Office of Public Defender on behalf of Raina Rosita Berry, who I see is now appearing on screen from the Lansing City Jail.
Thank you.
My appearance is limited to this arraignment. She has requested a court-appointed attorney.
And you are Raina Rosita Berry?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, today's the date that was set for a arraignment. I do have here a misdemeanor complaint that alleges that on or about February 16, 2024, at the area of 3615 Dunkel Road, City of Lansing, Ingham County, State of Michigan, that you did allegedly, contrary to the law, commit the act in count 1 of domestic violence. The allegation is that you did make an assault or assault and battery upon a Haley Johns, an individual with whom you had a dating relationship, and that this is contrary to Michigan Compile Law 750.812. This is a misdemeanor, and the maximum penalty is 93 days in jail and/or $500 in fines, and a consecutive sentence may be imposed under MCL 750.506A if the assault was committed in a place of confinement. Do you understand the charge in count 1 and the maximum penalty, ma'am?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. You have the right to be represented by counsel. The Public Defender's Office is representing you for the purposes of your first appearance in court today, which is your arraignment. You have the right to have an attorney represent you at each stage of the criminal prosecution. You have the right to have an attorney represent you at all of your court appearances, and if you are going to be questioned by law enforcement. If you can't afford to hire an attorney, a public defender can be appointed to represent you at the expense of the public. My understanding is that you have made that request. I'll note that here on the file.
Yes, ma'am.
You have the right to remain silent. Anything that you say can and will be used against you. You have the right to plead guilty. You have the right to plead not guilty, and you have the right to stand mute. If you stand mute, this matter will proceed to a jury trial. And you have the right to the presumption of innocence. So again, you're innocent until proven guilty. You have the right to proceed to your jury trial and require the prosecutor prove your guilt by proving each count of the charge of domestic violence beyond a reasonable doubt. You have the right to call witnesses to speak for you at trial. You have the right to see, hear, or question any witness that's called against you to testify at trial. And you have the right to remain silent at your trial and not have silence be used against you. Do you understand those rights?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you have any questions about those rights?
No, ma'am.
The court will enter a plea of not guilty on your behalf at this time. Are you currently employed?
Not currently, but I just had an interview at Taco Bell about 3 days ago, and they said I'm their top candidate. So basically, I'll be employed in about a week.
Okay. And what's your home address?
1821 Dogwood Drive, Holt, Michigan.
And that's not the address of Haley Johns, is that correct?
No, she lives on Dundee.
Okay. What's your phone number?
517-281-3240.
You're currently scheduled for a pretrial conference before Judge Stacia Buchanan. It's going to be March 4th, 2024 at 2 p.m. You can appear via Zoom or in person, okay?
Okay.
Did you get the notice to appear and Zoom instructions on how to log into her court?
Yes, ma'am, right in.
Are you currently on probation or on parole?
No, ma'am.
I don't actually see any prior convictions. Okay. you want to address bond?
Just briefly, your entire family's here. She lives with her parents in Holt, and the court noted that she doesn't have a conviction. I would ask for a PR bond.
Personal recognizance bond will be granted. Bond is set in the amount of $500 personal recognizance. While out on bond, you're not to have contact directly or indirectly with Haley Johns. Do you understand what that means?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
Okay, so that means you can't call, contact by any means, including text messages or on social media, and you cannot have anyone else do that on your behalf. Also, while out on bond, you're not to use, purchase, or possess alcohol, marijuana, or any illegal controlled substance, or any controlled substance that you don't have a valid prescription for. You're not to purchase or possess a firearm or any other dangerous weapon. You're not to travel outside the state without prior approval of the court. You're not to engage in any assaultive or threatening behavior. You're not to be within 1,500 feet of wherever Haley Johns is, okay?
Okay.
Do you have any questions about your bond conditions?
Well, ma'am, I understand everything.
And then you also need to make sure you appear to all of your court dates, okay? Unless you have a question for the court, you're all set.
Okay, thank you so much.
You're welcome. On the record in the matter of the people of the state of Michigan versus Travis Verser, file number is 22-002444FY. Appearance, please.
Attorney Dwayne Silverthorne, Office of Public Defender, on behalf of Travis Lee Verser, who now appears on screen from Lansing Jail. He has requested a court-appointed attorney, and my appearance today is limited to this arraignment.
Thank you. And you're Travis Lee Verser?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, Mr. Verser, I have a felony complaint here that you're going to be arraigned on. States that on or about December 11th, 2021 at 6251 Balfour, City of Lansing, Ingham County, State of Michigan, that you did allegedly commit the act in count 1 of home invasion first degree. The allegations are that you did break and enter or did enter without permission a dwelling located at 6251 Balfour Drive, and while entering, present in, or exiting, did commit an assault. And while entering, present in, or exiting, and Elise Knox was lawfully present therein, contrary to MCL 750.110A2. Count 1 as a felony. The maximum penalty is 20 years in prison and or $5,000 in fines, and a consecutive sentence may be imposed for any other conviction arising out the same transaction. Count 2 is assault with intent to do great bodily harm, less than murder, or by strangulation. The allegations are that you did make an assault upon an Elise Knox by strangulation or suffocation, contrary to Michigan compiled law 750.84. That's a felony, maximum penalty, 10 years in prison or $5,000 in fines. Your DNA is to be taken upon arrest, and a consecutive sentence may be imposed under MCL 750.506A if the assault was committed in a place of confinement. Count 3, domestic violence, alleges that you did make an assault or an assault and battery upon an Elise Knox, an individual with whom you had a child in common, or an individual with whom you had a dating relationship, and that this was done contrary to MCL 750.812. Restitution may be ordered in count 3, as this offense may have resulted in damage to another individual's property or physical injury or death to another individual. Count 3 is a misdemeanor, maximum penalty, 93 days in jail and or $500 in fines. And again, a consecutive sentence may be imposed under the law if the assault was committed at a place of confinement. Do you understand the charges read and the maximum penalty attached?
I understand that's what you read, but I don't, I don't understand the charges because that didn't
Sir,
happen, but.
sir, sir, sir.
I didn't ask you if you
Okay, yes,
agreed.
ma'am. Okay,
Yeah,
yes, ma'am.
there's a difference.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. There's a
Yes,
difference if
ma'am.
you agree versus do you understand. I just want to
Yes, ma'am. I
understand that you
apologize.
understand what was read. Okay, no problem. That's a common misunderstanding. Okay, so you have the right to be represented by counsel, and as you can see, Mr. Silverthorne is here zealously advocating for you to make sure you don't say anything that could be used against you, okay? But you have the
Yes,
right
ma'am.
to have an attorney represent you at all of your court appearances on this matter, and you have the right to have representation if you're questioned by law enforcement. If you cannot afford to hire your own attorney, you can make a request for the public defender's office to represent you at the expense of the public. He did make a request, you said?
Yes, Your Honor.
I'll note that here on the file. Again, you have the right to remain silent, Mr. Verser. Anything that you say and anything you put in writing can be used against you. You have the right to plead guilty. You can plead not guilty, or you can stand mute. If you stand mute, this matter will proceed all the way to a jury trial. You have the right to have a preliminary examination because counts 1 and count 2 are felonies. You have the right to have a preliminary examination within 21 days of the date that you're arraigned, unless you waive that timeline or the court finds good cause to go beyond that timeline. You're currently scheduled for a probable cause conference before Judge Cynthia Ward. It's going to be on March 1st, 2024 at 8 a.m. You have a preliminary examination in person before Judge Ward. It's going to be on March 7th, 2024 at 8:30 in the morning. You should have received your notice to appear and Zoom instructions on how to log into her virtual courtroom, and the virtual courtroom instructions can be used for the probable cause conference. You must appear in person for your exam, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
At the time of the preliminary examination, you do have the right to require the prosecutor to put forth sufficient basis that they have factual, probable cause, that is, probable cause that a crime was committed and probable cause to charge you with the crimes alleged. You understand your right as it relates to your preliminary examination.
Yes, ma'am.
You have the right in this matter to have a trial, and you have the right to jury trial. At the time of your trial, you have the right to call witnesses to speak for you at trial. You have the right to remain silent at your trial and not have silence be used against you. You have the right to see, hear, or question any witness that the prosecutor intends to call against you. And again, you have the right to require the prosecutor to prove your guilt at your jury trial by proving each element of the charges being brought against you. They prove each element beyond a reasonable doubt at your trial. Do you understand that?
Yes, ma'am.
Are you currently on probation or on parole?
Oh, ma'am.
The court will enter a plea of not guilty on your behalf. Are you employed?
Yes, ma'am.
Where's that?
At AD Transport Company. I drive trucks.
What's your home address?
4311 West Michigan Avenue, Lansing, Michigan, 48917.
What's your phone number?
517-885-0389.
Okay, and that address is not the address of Elise Knox, correct?
Correct.
Okay, counsel, you can address bond.
Just briefly, he indicates the only violent criminal record he had emanated from 1998 when he was 14, 15 years old, but charged as an adult. He said he doesn't have any other prior violent offenses since that time. That's a long period of time. He's lifelong in Lansing, lives with his father currently. He has a minor child in Lansing whom he sees. He works out of the Canton, Michigan terminal as an interstate truck driving with a good rate of pay. Very unlikely, I think, that he would not appear. I don't know if based on these charges in his past, he qualifies for PR bond, but if the court could do that, he would ask for a low cash surety or 10%.
Okay, the allegations are from 2021, where it's 2024. I don't know that there's an imminent threat to the public safety or to the victim in this particular matter based on that alone. The other concern, I should say, is I don't see anything other like you said than the conviction from 1998 on his record. So I think a personal recognizance bond is appropriate. I'll grant the bond 5,000 personal recognizance. While out on bond, you need to make sure you appear for all of your court dates, okay, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
You need to also follow the following conditions. You're not to have contact directly or indirectly with the alleged victim unless it's dealing with childcare, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
And that must be peaceful contact, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
If the contact can't be peaceful, then you can't have it. Do you understand that? So that means you can't engage in arguments and heated discussions while you're on
Yes.
bond. If it requires that level of attention, then you need to engage the family court, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
While out on bond, you're not to engage in any assaultive or threatening behavior. You're not to travel outside the state without prior approval for the court. You drive trucks, you do that outside of the state, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, well, obviously you can travel for work. I'll note that in the file.
Thank you.
You're not to possess a firearm or any other dangerous weapon. You are required to report to pretrial services within 48 hours of your release. You're not to use, purchase, or possess alcohol or drugs unless you have a valid prescription. You're not to harass, intimidate, beat, molest, wound, stalk, threaten, or engage in any other conduct that would place any of the following persons or child of any of the following persons in reasonable fear for bodily injury. That would be a spouse, a former spouse, or an individual with whom you had a child in common, or a resident or former resident of your household. You're not to assault, harass, intimidate, beat, molest, wound, or threaten Elise Knox. Do you have any questions about that?
No, ma'am.
And you're not to allow anybody else or a third party to do any of those things on your behalf, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you have any questions about your bond conditions or any questions about your rights?
No, ma'am.
Any additional matters for the record on this file, counsel?
No, thank you, Your Honor.
You're all set, sir. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, what's happening here? On the record in the matter of the people of the state of Michigan versus Derek Mason, file number is 19-015620 OD. Council appearance.
Wayne Solon on behalf of Derek Demetrius Mason.
And actually, it's people of the city of Lansing, not state of Michigan.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes, OD. Well, I don't see on screen yet.
This,
I will wait.
okay. Are you Derek? Are you Derek Demetrius Mason?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, Mr. Mason, today is the day that we are addressing a bench warrant. Looks like you have a sentencing that was not taken care of. Let's see. It looks like you were before. Was an Alderson case, and now it's Buchanan, I believe. Looks like you saw Judge Buchanan back on September 13, 2022. You pled guilty to count 1. She referred you to probation to prepare for your sentencing on operating while intoxicated. It looks like your sentencing was originally scheduled for October 25th, 2022 at 8:30 in the morning. You failed to appear for that sentencing. It does appear that January 26, 2023, you did see Magistrate Milmore. You indicated to her that you had lost your paperwork because someone stole your backpack. She set a bond at $5,000, 10%, advised that you needed to appear to probation upon your release, and that you had a sentencing date that would be scheduled for March 6th, but you failed to appear. Did someone steal your backpack again?
No, I forgot all about it.
I'm sorry?
I forgot all about it. I had to show up.
You know, if you forgot why you didn't show up?
But I forgot all about it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's been a concern on this. It looks like April 22nd, 2019, defendant failed to appear for pretrial. March 29th, 22nd, failure to appear, another bench warrant. Let's see here. You failed to appear August 16th, 2022. And then September 13th, 2022. And so we got to get this matter resolved so that we can move forward. You're going to be remanded to see the judge that presides over this matter, which is Judge Buchanan, okay? There'll be no PR for 14 days. That way we can get you on the schedule so that you can see her. She can get you scheduled for a sentencing since you can't seem to bring yourself in on your own recognizance, okay?
Yeah.
Do you have any questions?
No.
Okay, you're all set. Thank you.